If you hear any weird noises, they're putting a lemon tree outside my window, Daenerys Targaryen style. So if you hear any noises, that's what that is. Anyway, I just watched episode 7, 8, and 9 of Andor, season 2. There was a lot I really liked about it. It was intense, it was powerful, it was very dark. I don't watch other people's reviews. I kind of been avoiding that, but I do see headlines throughout YouTube, and it's I get the impression that some people were like, "Wow, it's so dark this episode," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's been dark this whole time." Basically, Gorman got massacred, like we knew was going to happen. This entire season has been leading up to this, so I don't feel like it's a surprise. Nothing about the way they had set it up made me think that the rebels were going to magically save Gorman. Gorman was doomed. The writers didn't even attempt to give us like some false hope spot of like, oh, they have this plan. No, no. The rebels had no plan. There was no way to save them that was presented. So I just kind of have been watching it waiting for Gorman's destruction because the show has made it very clear that that's going to happen. And it was raw and brutal. The crazy hectic quality of the crowds when they finally let loose is so well shot, and it has this frenetic, panicked, kind of confused energy that I thought was very well done. Reminded me a bit of the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones just because of the chaos and the hecticness of it. I liked it, but there was a lot leading up to that, and we should probably start at the beginning. The story starts with another year time skip. So at this point, it's clear what they're going for. Each 3 episodes, they do another 1 year time skip forward, which is an interesting artistic choice. Basically, what this causes is makes it more of like a patchwork of scenes. So they show you like a snapshot of like where the state of affairs are. They show you what Mon Mothra's doing. They show you what Andor's doing. They show you what Daedra's doing. They show you where all these different people are, what's going on with them. And then they kind of set things up, see how things change, and then they flash forward a year. It is an interesting stylistic choice, and there is interesting advantages to that. What it does cause is that it continuously and repeatedly disrupts the character arcs where so much character development happens off screen, which is intentional. And I get that that is an intentional choice. There are disadvantages to going that route, but it is interesting. So it starts back on Yavin. The jungle rebels are nowhere to be seen, but somehow, some way, Yavin has become like the secret base of the rebellion. I would have loved to have seen any of that. Any of that. Any of that at all would have been delightful to see. It makes even less sense showing the jungle rebels of the first 3 episodes because they make it even more confusing of like how did they get from there to there? Like where's the through line there? There's no through line. It's driving me crazy because you could have made an entire season, you could have made an entire show on rebels building a base on this dangerous jungle planet with monsters and ancient temples. It's so interesting and compelling, and it's completely off screen. It's so bizarre. Like, why didn't we see any of that? If you want to see the snapshot of the rebellion growing, you'd think that they would have shown any little scenes of people founding Yavin besides the jungle rebels. A kind of mid-stepping point between complete disorganization and like that base. You would think that they would have one through line in like the 4 through 6 time frame of episodes, but no. It is complete and utter incompetence to this is a proper army, basically. It's an underfunded underdog army, but it feels like legit. Oh my god, I wish they had shown more of that. I feel robbed. Yeah. But that's not where they want to focus on. That like missing sequence of events completely overshadows other completely missing things. Like Andor got shot off screen and has like this blaster wound. Who knows what happened there? Doesn't matter. The show doesn't care. He just has a wound now and he's kind of hurting. And then Andor and Vix live in this tree house on Yavin now, which is awesome. That tree house is fantastic. I want to live there. Again, the sets of this show are fantastic. Everything looks so lived in and so real, and it's just delightful. And I loved every time they showed anything of that little treehouse. That treehouse looks great. It looks great. It's the right level of kind of it just feels like magical and charming, but like realistic. And these rebels are underfunded and are living in the middle of nowhere. It's like the perfect balance of that. I love it. And then Will, I finally figured out this guy's name is Will. I somehow went through 2 seasons without picking up that piece of knowledge. But anyway, that kid comes to visit them, and through their conversation, we learn that Andor has kind of split from Luthen. Like they're kind of at odds, but Will is like gung-ho working for Luthen, and they're kind of have friction about that. I'm like, okay. But Will is trying to rope him back into Gorman nonsense, which he eventually will succeed in doing. Gorman, when we cut to Gorman, there's so much military presence because the terrorists have been doing exactly what Daedra wants, which is causing so much a problem that they can pretend that they're justified in amplifying their imperial presence. And it's super dangerous and super different. And what I did love is that great contrast between how Gorman was in the previous couple episodes and how Gorman is now. It's such a stark contrast and shot very well, that difference. And like we remember what that plaza looks like, and now we see it now, and it's kind of really striking of like, oh my god, this place has devolved. It's great. Daedra finds out that mining that planet is definitely going to happen now, so she has to amplify the response even more. And Cyril doesn't know why he's been doing any of the things he's been doing for Daedra, and now he's questioning it because Daedra's like, we're almost done with our project, and Cyril's like, we haven't done anything, because in Cyril's mind, Gorman's only gotten worse, which is objectively true, and he's confused because he thought he was trying to bring order, right? He thought he's trying to find foreign insurgents, and instead she's been using him to make the Gorman rebellion make mistakes. And he doesn't really understand that, so he doesn't know. Like, she's acting like they're doing a good job, and he's confused. And Daedra kisses him to distract him, and he's still confused. Like, what the hell? He's kind of like, what the hell's going on? The character being a little disillusioned is fun. Like, his hair's mussed up. You see the difference, which is cool. I would have liked to have seen him starting to doubt that. It's kind of his growing doubt happened off screen. But yeah, it was good. We got to Mon Mothra, and she's talking with the Gorman senator. Like, the Gorman senator, he's not been having a good year, clearly. But he compliments Mon Mothra on her strength of character, which felt very justified. Mon Mothra, like, that poor woman, it was nice to have someone, point out, like, you do a lot. It was unnecessary to have that scene, but it felt nice because she's such an idealist in a sea of twisted cynicism that she does stand out. Another great example of visual set storytelling, where it's clear that the security for the Senate building is much tighter. There's all these like extra security things. Everything seems tighter. Everything seems just more oppressive. And that's just another example of what Andor does fantastic, which is telling the story through the background, through the visuals, through the world, is always where it stands strong. And you see that. You see that constantly in every scene. We cut back to Yavin, and they've introduced the Force. There's like this Force healer lady that Andor wants nothing to do with, and Vix like is trying to get him to go because maybe she'll help her heal your shoulder, and there's no point in not trying. It felt very real to me. I swear to God, my parents have had that exact argument. Like, minus the magical force stuff, but like dragging my dad to any sort of doctor, spiritual or otherwise. You practically need weaponry to get him to go to the doctor. So I felt very real to me. It felt very like I've heard that exact argument like over and over again. So I don't know, felt nostalgic. The Force healing lady says some interesting things about Andor. She does heal his shoulder because of course it's the Force, but she like calls him a messenger, which I assume is a reference to his eventual role in Rebel One. But she also compliments him on his clarity of purpose, which is a very odd thing to compliment him on because I swear to God, this guy is always uncertain. There's almost never a point in this entire show where his conviction is not constantly questioned. He's constantly unsure if he wants to commit. He's always hesitant. He's always this. So clarity of purpose, although I see what they're going for and I do understand what she's talking about, it rings a little hollow to me because the constant characterization of Andor is his unwillingness to get involved in anything. So I don't know, but it's fine. It's fine. We cut back to Cyril, and he's trying to help the resistance lady, but she slaps him, which makes me realize that they found out he was working for the Empire off screen. Off screen. Can you imagine how like shocking and intense that would be for them to figure out of like this guy was a spy this whole time and feeding us false information? That, oh my God. You'd think they'd want to kill him. They somehow didn't for some reason. But that is such an emotionally charged moment that they just skip over because the show doesn't care about that. The show is not about the emotional, personal stories. It's not about that, which I think is a shame because there are some interesting personal stories being told here that you get in Patchwork. Cyril is a great example of it. I would have loved to see him build rapport and then have that rapport broken with these guys, but we don't see that. All of the tension, the rise and the fall of his relationship with those rebels is off screen. It's all in subtext. That feels like a shame to me, but I get it. The show likes to do almost all of it in subtext and kind of skipping over things, and that's kind of its style. I don't like that, but I get what they're going for. I think it messes with the character portion of this story. The personal stories get kind of jumbled when you use this strategy, but that's not their focus, so they're willing to make that sacrifice. I wouldn't be, but I get what they're going for, I guess. But anyway, Andor eventually goes to Gorman at the request of Luthen because Luthen wants him to shoot Daedra, basically. And Daedra's there. So he goes. There's a great flying scene of him coming down on the planet. Visually awesome. Like the way they have the camera like inside the cockpit and as it lowers. Oh, it's just great. Visually fantastic. Oh, I love that scene. It's very cool. And then he checks in to the hotel. He's under a different name now, and he's clearly a different person. But the bellhop remembers him, which I did like. I like the bellhop as a character, and the bellhop even has like an almost classic Star Wars line of like rebellions are built off hope. Charming. He's fun, like that. It's a great moment. On to episode 8. So the Gorman resistance plans on doing kind of this protest in the plaza, and the Imperials want that because they're trying to start a massacre, basically, because they need an excuse to basically genocide the planet. So they're intentionally egging this on, and they even bring troops that are inexperienced on purpose, that they want to get rattled and to act extremely. Like everything is set to have this powder keg of a situation on purpose. This is Daedra's plan to basically allow them to annihilate Gorman and no one to stop them. Meanwhile, all this going on, Andor is kind of like stuck in the crowd trying to get a clean shot off of Daedra and trying to keep communications with Will, but it's kind of hard to hear people in the chaos of the crowd. Will clearly has a type. He likes blonde local girls because he's like has a thing with one of the Gormans, apparently. Good for him, I guess. So he's like in the crowd and Cyril's in the crowd, and there's a moment where they pass each other and don't notice each other. Amazing scene because Cassian doesn't care about him, but he has been obsessive over Cassian for 2 seasons, and to see him to just miss him, it was great. Great moment of like, oh my god, she almost saw him but didn't. It was great. It was great. Very cool. So they're all marching to the square and they're having this protest, but the rebel father figure guy, he figures out as a trap and is trying to stop it, and it's not working. The father also confronts Cyril, who's lingering around there. Cyril still thinks that he was there to root out foreign insurgent elements, and the guy's like, you're an idiot. They're landing mining equipment now. What are they mining in our ground? Like they're clearly, this is a conspiracy. They want to crush us, and you help them. And Cyril is unsettled by this, but shoves him off and marches over to Daedra. As he's passing, it's like there's this protest that isn't violent, but the news is painting it as violent, very violent. And Cyril is struck by that because Cyril knows it's not violent, and he's realizing that narrative is being twisted and being used, and it suddenly hits him that he made this happen, like he helped this and this is on purpose. Like it hits him that this is the plan. So he goes to Daedra and confronts her of like, why is there mining equipment? What are we here really for? And he loses his mind, and then like in the middle of that goes straight to choking her. Like all the things I would have expected out of that scene, that was like 40% to 100% real fast. It was a little almost rushed. Shocking. So he chokes her and forces her to admit what the real plan is. And he's like, did you know this whole time? And she's like, yeah, basically. And he's kind of, it hits him that he was being used this whole time for this. And he's horrified. One can assume that he's horrified, one, because like Daedra's relationship with him is built off of deception. So he's unclear of like how much of their relationship's real. 2, he seems to be horrified of the destruction of the planet and the genocide. It would have been nice to see him connect with any of the Gormans in a clear way so that we kind of understood that he cares about them, and it would have been clearer. Like, I assume that's what's going on, but all of his interactions with those people have been kind of off screen, so we're not sure. I mean, one can assume. It's intense. It's an intense scene. And he kind of storms out, leaves the building, and kind of walks into the crowd of protesting people who have started singing. The singing was beautiful. It did not help the French parallels at all. Very French resistance, giving off some Les Miserables energy. Probably intentional, but I'm not sure that was a good call. It does draw a fun comparison with Ferrex. It seems like the writers really like using music as a form of rebellion, because Ferrex had the same thing where there was a music during that funeral with Cassian's mom, and the Imperials were trying to stop them, and it's the same thing here where the Imperials don't like the singing and want to stop the singing. And it's same deal. It's a trope that works, so it worked. But after his talk with Daedra, he leaves the building. Daedra commands people to stop him, but he's already left the building at that point. While Cyril's in the crowd, an Imperial sniper shoots an Imperial crowd control guy to kickstart the violence. And he keeps shooting different people to keep the chaos of it stronger and stronger and stronger. It's horrifying. It's so filthy. And so everyone's shooting. It becomes a bloodbath and a massacre like they wanted. And it's brutal and horrifying. Very well shot. It's so intense. So intense. And then the Imperials bring out robots. And they start wreaking havoc. It's brutal. And then all this chaos. Cyril is in the middle of it, realizing he helped cause it and that he caused this horrifying thing to happen. And he's standing there in the middle of this chaos and this horrible event. And he's just kind of shell-shocked. And it's so intense and meaningful because we've watched him being so obsessed over order and serving the Empire and all of that. It's very compelling. And in that moment, he finally locks eyes with Cassian, sees Cassian, and makes the character choice to fight him. Awesome fight scene, because you know how much Cyril has been obsessing over Cassian for 2 seasons. Seeing that fight was intense, and I was so invested in it. And halfway through it, it hit me. I was like, oh, Cyril's gonna die in this. Because Cassian's not going to die, and there's no way Cassian's going to let him live. So my heart kind of sank because I was like, oh wow, they're going to kill the best written character in this show. And they do. Not through Cassian killing him, which I think if you're going to kill Cyril, at least let Cassian kill him. No, so Cassian didn't kill him. It's the rebel father figure guy that I presume Cyril had a relationship with and had a falling out with, but that was all off screen. That guy, he shot him. I don't like that at all. I don't like killing Cyril to begin with because of so much characterization has been built on that, and you're at like the climax of his character, and they shoot him, which I know they're very proud of, and they're very happy they did that. Like the writers, they're like, this is how it happens in real life. It's very realistic, and they're so happy about it. Some character arcs don't get conclusions. Real life doesn't have a satisfying arc to it. They're more than pleased with themselves, and you can tell. But if you're gonna kill him, the decision to have that rebel father figure guy shoot him and not Cassian, I think muddies the waters of what I think they were trying to say with his death, because he's having this moment of realization of how monstrous he has been and what he has done. And in that moment, he sees Cassian and he makes the fatal and damning decision to go right back to what he's always done, which is go after Cassian, fixate on a Cassian in the moment where he could have made a different choice. So Cassian not killing him and someone else killing him just kind of in the moment almost makes the meaning behind his death, which is he refused to change and so he died for it, kind of muddies it, because that he could have been shot by anyone at any time. The choice to go after Cassian should kill him. It feels like such a waste to kill Cyril. It does. I know why they did it. I get why they did it. It just feels, it's such a waste. There's such a compelling character arc going on, and they finally were at the moment of, or something meaningful could happen, and then you shoot him. You never kill the person there before they can suffer for their wrongdoing. This is like, but like you could have had him make some choices. You didn't let him make character choices that would matter. He does the thing for Daedra, realizes the error of his ways, runs off, dies. It's so disappointing because there's something there but they're such servants to their obsession with realism. This is what happens in war. People die randomly in this. People don't have arcs. People don't are able to do anything after they've done terrible things. That's how it happens in real life. So that's what we're going to do. They're obsessed with that. The fact that fiction isn't real is not a weakness of fiction. It's not a weakness of fantasy. And I know this is a different genre than than, original Star Wars. Original Star Wars was unabashed fantasy. This is not. Intentionally not, which is fine, but it is fiction. And the beauty of fiction is that sometimes it's more true than reality. The unnecessary details are cut away. Everything is sharpened, tightened, brought into focus, and what is left is the storyteller's distillation of something human, something true. Does Cyril's death serve the truth of Andor? In some ways, yes. Andor is about the colossus that is tyranny. It's about how no one person in a regime is the source of its evil. Instead, the individual is a spoke on its ever-crushing wheel until they are crushed themselves. Cyril's helplessness to stop what he helped put into motion does serve that message. But that's his helplessness, not necessarily his death. I'd argue his death actually works against the overarching theme, because the overwhelming might of tyranny is not the fundamental truth being told in Andor. Quite the opposite. Andor is about how tyranny can be overcome. It goes to excessive lengths to hide its own optimism, but you can't forget what these time skips are counting down to. The steps are gruesome and brutal. You might have to get your hands dirty, but you can fight an empire. That's the truth intrinsically interwoven in Andor. You can become a rebellion. You can make that choice. And they killed Cyril off before he could comprehend that he even had that choice. Robbing us of what Cyril becomes after something like that, and just cutting it off, makes for a weaker narrative, I think. Is it more realistic? I suppose, but it would hit harder if he has to live with those decisions. That's my opinion. It's such a waste. Such a waste. I don't know, maybe they intend to do that plot with Daedra. Daedra has like a breakdown after he dies, which is great acting. It's in a great moment because she's been so hyper reserved this entire show, and seeing her breakdown was very meaningful. That was cool. And then we see a shot of Cyril's mom crying. And as Andor's leaving, someone destroys one of those robots, and then he asks them to help him drag it onto his transport. He realized, it could be reprogrammed. But it's so awkward and contrived the way they set that up, because it's not easy to pick those things up, and it's like they don't have a lot of time, and it feels rushed. And then he's like, by the way, let's move this robot because it's in the script to do that. If the robot had like fallen into the transport so they don't have to do all this moving and dragging around, that would have made a little more sense. The kind of going out of his way to do that transport and to drag that robot all the way back to Yavin, it felt a little contrived. It's like, yes, because he needs that robot, because that robot's going to be in Rogue One. I don't know, it's a little contrived, but fine. That's the end of episode 8. My review of episode 9 will come out in a few days. They're narratively a little different, so put it in a separate video. If you want to be informed when I release that review, do subscribe. Also, if you want to experience a different story about attempting to prevent the genocide of a doomed civilization, do check out my book, Phone Song, Diary of a Sentient Sword. The first 10 chapters are free in the link below. Happy reading, and take care.